Today marks 1 year since we retired to Bakung. It's not been an idle retirement. I'm a lazy man. That doesn't mean I'm unproductive though. Paraphrasing Robert A. Heinlein, if you've got a difficult job, give it to a lazy man. You'll find an easier way. Now, I think I did pretty well at that in a former career before I retired. Yeah, so in the first year here, we've actually achieved quite a bit. A lot of the time, jobs get handed off to my elder stepson and my son-in-law. Is a bit reluctant to let me do too much physical stuff. Concerned about me hurting myself. The limited medical support here. But yeah, so in this first year we've bought several hectares of farmland, mainly rice paddies, but also some garden territory with fruit trees, coconut palms. I was against renting land on the basis that I understand rent to require ongoing payments. That's not how it's played in Indonesia. When you rent farmland here, you pay the owner a lump sum, and that land is then yours to farm until they return that lump sum. No ongoing payments. So once I understood that, I was like, oh, okay, let's do that. So we've also rented several hectares of land. Yeah, so that's not cheap here. Land is pretty expensive, despite it being a low income area. But that's an investment for the future. And it's also part of me paying tax, because on land transactions there's 20% tax that goes to the government for the paperwork. So yeah, I'm a good taxpayer. Yeah, so other things that have happened in that year are numerous, and I will go into them now. The access path from the main road to the courtyard in front of our house has been widened to about 2 metres. That makes it vehicle accessible, as can be seen here. This corner at the north end is still a bit of an issue though, because it's a very tight turn, so there's a bit of a back and fill have to be done to get around this corner, so we need to extend the concrete out a bit this way, and the kink makes it a bit challenging too, so there's fair restriction on the size of vehicle that can come through here. We have a nice stainless steel fence around the front porch now. We had 3 new stainless steel security doors installed. One was for a new door on the back kitchen, and the 2 others replaced flimsy insect screen doors which have been destroyed by small children. Similarly, insect mesh that have been destroyed on 2 other security doors which had been destroyed by small children was also replaced. A new sliding gate was installed in the back patio here to provide a separate lockable area for tools and the solar power stuff. I repaired my ice maker, I think probably about 4 times. Since the final or 4th repair, it seems to be working semi-reliably. Occasionally it will get jammed and just has to be reset. It doesn't actually give up entirely, which was a big improvement. That's been a fairly valuable little machine to have bought here a few years ago. Stainless steel security grills were fitted to all our windows. and the house was repainted inside and out. So we got rid of all the cream and grey on the outside in favour of white, and the inside was just refreshed with white again. Yes, white shows the dirt, but also it means inside the house it's maximum brightness. There's a few other things I'd like to do to increase that brightness too, but they might not happen. This drain along the south side of our house comes from the front courtyard, and that's been massively improved. And it's got the nice steel grill over the top of it, and the concrete covers house to house now. Previously there was concrete, then it dropped down to a drain, and then there was just garden bed. So this is big improvement, and that provides now the path out the back. The 3 shipping containers came from Australia with all my belongings, and all the supplies I bought for projects here, and among those was all the electrical stuff for doing the wiring for the house. So this is separate, completely separate from the public electrical grid, and is powered purely from the off-grid system. So in the kitchen we have lots and lots of power points. So there's that set of 4, that set of 4, more doubles up there, more doubles up the far end. That's just on the north side of the room. Power point up there for the range hood. That's one of the 3 range hoods that came in the shipping containers. And there's the second one. Third one's in the kitchen out the back. Also a dishwasher, which we installed. Replaced the rusty stainless steel sink with this non-ferrous sink that came in the shipping container from Melbourne with the associated plumbing. We installed a DVR and the 8 cameras for the CCTV system that came in the containers. I set up UV bug zappers on movement sensor timers in the front and rear airlocks, so whenever anybody comes in or goes out, the bugs hopefully will be attracted to that instead of going through the second door. We hung 3 TVs on wall mounts. There's a 75-inch unit in the lounge room, 55-inch in the main kitchen, 43-inch in the back kitchen, and a 43-inch on the wall mount over the bed. Sorry, ceiling mount over the bed. We installed the plastic laundry tub I brought from Melbourne. I don't trust stainless steel here, given the previous stainless steel has rusted. We have corrosive water from the well. There's also another kitchen sink and plumbing installed in the back kitchen, the same as one in the main kitchen, but that's currently undercover as there are guys doing more tiling in the back kitchen there. I installed auto closers on all of the security doors and also on the storeroom door, so I've used 7 so far. They came in the container from Melbourne. I was planning for all this. We built a rice processing factory. Various machines for processing rice have been installed, and there's a little bit of rice in storage, and launch machinery in here for processing coconut. The first phase of a rice drying area for the rice factory was constructed. Maybe next year there'll be the extra sections on either side, and a shelter here for the people responsible for stirring the rice and monitoring that. We installed rock wool insulation bats in the ceiling. Yeah, so don't know that it's made a huge difference, but in principle I felt that we had to have insulation to try and keep some of the heat out of the roof. Sorry. The batteries, control modules and inverters for the off-grid solar system were installed, along with the 15 kilowatts of solar panels on the roof. I set up all the AV gear, like the surround sound, and so forth in the lounge room, along with quite a bit of computer equipment. It's not all of it, but it's a fair bit. That one there will get moved to the shed. The compact truck loader and accessories I ordered back in February finally arrived in Bakung in October. Normally working outside here is uncomfortable for me because of the temperature and humidity. The compact track loader is air conditioned, which means that in theory I can work in it. I'm just trying to find that machine. There it is. But if you looked at previous videos, you would have seen that yeah, it's a bit wet here at the moment, and the machine was inclined to get bogged. So I'll be using that when we actually get a bit of dry weather for this to dry up and make the machine usable out there in the open. The other thing we did here, we built a new home for my older stepson Dadang and his family. This corner in the house to the south of ours was modified. It originally used to be a square corner there with the accompanying roof, but rather than us take the corner off our house, they said, okay, we'll happily renew that part of our house. So I provided funding for that, and that was much better than making changes to our house, so I'm very grateful for them for that offer. Since this corner wasn't changed, that meant that we could get this bench put in, and while we're at it we're going to do the tiling of the rest of it as well. We've got a new security door on the lounge room, since that's where a lot of very expensive stuff resides, and I brought a lock set for that from Melbourne, so that there on the wall is a fingerprint sensor. So the only thing I've got left to do with that now is tidy up the wiring on the inside and start programming fingerprints into that. We have a new sliding security door on the rear airlock. Somewhere in the stuff I brought from Melbourne there is a sliding door auto closer, which I hope to find one day and use. And apart from that, there is another one of those fingerprint locks which I will install on the wall here beside it. And actually installing the lock mechanism is going to be a bit challenging for this one, so I'll have to think further on that. Originally the skillion at the back of the house that covers the back kitchen and the back patio had the same black metal tiles as the main roof. They were horrible things, lots of leaks and so forth, so they've been replaced now with galvanised sheets, much better. And a pagoda type roof was put on the tank stand, which means that when you're standing on the tank stand you don't get wet when it rains anymore. So that's pretty good. All cabinets were installed in the kitchen and the laundry. Quite nice those, and strong. I believe they'll stay on there when there's an earthquake. I'm sure there's been a bunch of other projects which have escaped me now, but I think I appear to be a major local employer because everybody says, oh, you got work, you got work. Oh yeah, do some steel work. So when I run out of projects, I think these folks are going to be a little bit disappointed. But for now, I've got a happy bunch of workers. As you will have glimpsed earlier, steel work for my machinery shed is underway. There's going to be quite a few more of those steel reinforcement frames yet. Taking a few printouts from my design and trying to figure out what dimensions on that mean what goes where. So we're building the footing cages for pillars at the moment. Already said, I'm sure there's a bunch of other projects or small tasks, small jobs that have been done which have escaped me now, but the big one's coming. The machinery shed, which if you go back in the videos you'll see back about the 6th of October I think it was, I put up a design on the screen for that. That's fairly elaborate design. I'm not quite sure how well that will manifest in reality, but we'll give it a good show. On top of that machinery shed, there's going to be another solar array supplying another off-grid system, 3-phase system this time instead of single phase, so they can have an auto start diesel backup generator on that. That will provide power for the workshop, machinery shed, aquaponics, and a backup line to the house. The system on the house has an auxiliary input for when the batteries go low and there's no solar input. I've currently got a small petrol powered generator on that, which is a manual start job. When the batteries reach 20% charge, the controller turns off power to the house, so that's best avoided. In future, if the batteries go down to 20% charge, it will tap into the line from the machinery shed, so the inverter there will supply power to the house along that line, and if the batteries over there go down to 20% or whatever the preset point is, that controller will start the diesel generator, so we needn't worry about power going out. At the moment I have a bit of what I'd term range anxiety for the battery charge. So once we have the solar panel there, solar power there, then the next project is to, or part of that project is to build some big water tanks to collect the rainwater from the machinery shed. That rainwater will be used as supply for the shed and for an aquaponics installation. I plan to do a whole lot more research before I design a prototype system for that. Watch a lot of videos, a lot of YouTube, read books, etc. Then I'll do a prototype system for that just to get us started, and when we've had some experience with that and know what we need to do and what not to do, then we'll construct a larger scale system. The plan is to make these things modular so that we can have isolation between the systems, so that if we get disease or contamination in one system, it is localized to that system. Not aiming at a commercial scale system, just supply fish and vegetables to this household and perhaps the extended family. When we build a second system, we can supply more. If somebody in the family wants to take commercial, they can start putting their own money into it and make it bigger and start making money off it, hopefully. The solid fish wastes from the filters will be used to fertilise the little orchard of fruit trees that will be planted. You saw in an earlier section of this video a bunch of trees in the corner of the house next door. Those are trees that Jabota has bought for planting. There's mangoes and guava and lemon and orange and some things I've never heard of. I'm aiming also for cocoa and possibly coffee plants. I do actually have a melanger, which is basically a stone grinder thing that you run for hours and hours and hours for grinding up to make chocolate. So there's that, and might have a go at doing coffee too. Check my piece of paper on other things I've got to remind myself of. Yeah. See this? Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, originally I thought that it might be 5 to 7 years before we start getting usable fruit off the trees, but from the way things grow here and from what Jabota tells me, it may be 3 years before we get fruit, so that's promising. Another thing I've thought about is, depending how my retirement finances hold up, I may actually look at getting some machine tools for the machinery shed / workshop. I'm thinking that a small lathe and milling machine in addition to the tools we already have, would make that a useful little engineering shop. Hopefully somebody around here is prepared to gain the skills. I'm sure I can operate a lathe to an amateur level, and there's always YouTube to learn more. So yeah, Gilberto was concerned that I would get bored in Bakung and want to return to Australia. Can't see it happening. I don't understand people who say they're bored, because there's always something to do, always something to think about. And there is just so much to do here, so much to think about. There's the ice machine in the background, groaning a bit. If we hear clunk, we know that it's going to need resetting. Yeah, so that's where we're at. It's been a busy 12 months, and the next 12 months hopefully will be not quite so busy. With the new shed, there'll be a lot more storage as well, so there's a lot of crap in here and in other rooms in the house, in the back of the house. So it all looks very untidy at the moment, but that's still a lot of stuff from the shipping containers, which belongs in a workshop or a garden shed or whatever. So I have hopes that one day this lounge room will be neat. When that happens, if that happens, I'll show you. But yeah, so that's the year in review, and hopefully I'm back next year to give you another year in review. See you later.